It is now my honor to introduce Imam Omar Suleiman, Islamic scholar, civil rights activist, professor at SMU, and a close friend of Ammu Marwan.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We begin in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. You know, I see the signs say 30 years of service. I had the pleasure of knowing Marwan when he was a student at LSU. And he actually arrived in Louisiana, and before he went to his university, the joke is that he came to the mosque and he asked the imam, who happens to be my father-in-law, put me to work, what can I do? So it's actually more than 30 years of service. I'm pretty sure he's been serving since the day he was born. With that being said, you know, I remember Jordan Edwards was 2017? 2017, correct? Lee represented the family of Jordan Edwards. Some of you might remember that incident, and I'll tell you exactly why I'm going to use that to frame the few minutes that I have today. Jordan Edwards was a teenage victim of police brutality here in North Texas, and he was shot in his car. And I remember there was a comment that stuck with me forever, which was that after the press conference where they talked about how he was a straight A student, how he was the perfect student, and everyone talked about how perfect of a kid he was at school, someone made the remark that none of that is supposed to be relevant. Because at the end of the day, even if he was none of those things, he should not have been killed in his car. And this week, Botham John, also represented by Yuli, would have been 34 years old. Same thing, he was this, he was that. Well, none of that should have to be said. And so the very first thing that I want to say is that, yes, Marwan is a model citizen, but you shouldn't have to be a model citizen to be treated like a basic human being. And so let's start with that premise, that as we're talking about him, what's happened to him is unacceptable, and what's happened to so many others that don't have the record of public service that Marwan has is also unacceptable. If you were to, because sometimes it's important for us to visualize this, if right now, here in Richardson, because these are the streets that we're in right now, we're standing in front of a building where Marwan has received so many proclamations that the file would be this big if you took all of his public service proclamations. But right now, let's just say in the middle of this, 7 police cars just pulled somebody over behind you because it was in these streets. 7 vehicles pulled someone over and took someone out of his vehicle. You would think that that must be a major bona fide criminal. That must be someone that poses such a major threat to society. For 7 vehicles to have to track him down, we got him. After dropping his son off at school, you would think that, man, they got someone big. And who did they get? They got one of the few people that I know that during the winter storm would drive his car out when it was most dangerous to deliver meals, prepared by refugees, for those that were in the homeless shelters in Dallas to take care of them. That's who you got. Who did they get? They got a guy that would make rounds on the streets to nursing homes, Boy Scouts programs, youth camps, that would be out there doing things that nobody else would do. That's who they got. And I want you to think about why they would do something like that. What is the point of all of this? I think we all know the answer to that, so I don't even have to elaborate on that. Marwan is a person of service. Marwan is a person that has touched more hearts than we know and more hearts than he knows. And, you know, I was looking on the first posts and people were like, man, do you see the comment sections? I don't read the comment sections. They said, no, but everyone is responding. You know, these people are responding and saying, get him, deport him, ICE, 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 and cheering on his deportation. And I thought to myself, the same people that are littering the comment sections, and many of those will watch the news reports, and in the intoxication of fascism will chant, deport, deport, deport. are the same people that Marwan would have served their parents, would have served them, would have served their children, and still would do it after what they say about him, because that's who he is. And just to add a final layer to this, the person that he is. When I finally got through to speak to him, he's still Marwan, even in a detention center. Let me explain to you how. Within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, he explained to me that he already went to the chapel and that he's already went to various people within the prison facility and volunteered to help. Like he's already talking about how he's volunteering to help other people that are there, and he started giving me like a needs assessment of the prison facility and telling me like who's from where and who's there. And now he's trying to get a mushaf to this person, and I might need you to do this for this person. And you know, the chaplain is really, really, really nice, and I really appreciated him. And I told him, hey, if you need me to help you out, I can take this section for you. He accidentally referred to, and I hope it was accidental, he accidentally referred to the prison facility as the dorm. Because that's probably how many youth camps he's put on in his life. He's put on more than I can count. He never once spoke, just as I would expect of him. He didn't say anything about his own conditions, including the fact that he has a health condition, by the way, that makes him more vulnerable than most of the people that are there in that sense. He spoke about the conditions of those that have been there, and he said there are cases here that are so sad and so depressing. There are people that have been here for this long. There are people that have these needs. And when he spoke about the way that they sleep and the way that they eat and the way that they're woken up, he spoke about it as if he was not one of those that was enduring that right now. That's the Marwan that we know. That's Marwan in prison. That's Marwan outside of prison. But that's a Marwan that North Texas needs. That's a Marwan that America would be stupid to get rid of. And so, thank you all for coming out and for showing that he's the heart of our community. And inshallah, we'll continue to show up for him at the bond hearing and wherever we need to be so that we can bring our brother home. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Imam Ahmad, for grounding us in that every single person that's been detained by ICE was somebody's father, somebody's brother, somebody's mother, somebody's sister, somebody's son, somebody's daughter. Every single person who's been detained has contributed in ways that we might know and in ways that we might not know to our community. And really, this fight is larger than just for the freedom of Marwan. And we need to be grounded in that as we move forward.